It is not plausible that autism care requires 3,000% more in funding in less than 5 years, nor is there evidence that a 700% increase in providers was anticipated. According to the Minnesota Autism and Development Disabilities Monitoring Network at the University of Minnesota, anybody in the Walz administration could have made the same phone call. According to the Minnesota Autism and Developmental Disabilities Monitoring Network at the University of Minnesota, 1 in 34 children has autism spectrum disorder in Minnesota. Data show no recent spike in that number, and yet Walz is not aware that the FBI is investigating the potential fraud and has been since June. It's the food fraud 2.0.
Yeah, part 2. Yep.
And we called it in mid-July, and no one in the Walz administration probably listens to the show. And if people did listen to the show, they certainly made a choice to not pay any attention to it, which that's not surprising, I guess. Who's going to count on a little podcast to be alerted to something? But we're right back with the same problem we faced with the food fraud. You mean to tell me that in all of those employees in the Department of Human Services, nobody scratched their head and said, how come we all of a sudden have 3,000 autism providers? What the hell happened? How come? No, I'm sorry. How come we all of a sudden have 328 autism providers? Well, just 4 years ago, we had 41 providers. How come no one scratched their head when they said, the DHS, we're paying out $192 million, but 4 years ago we were paying $6 million. No one
Why wasn't
got
there
up from their chair and walked over to a superior or something and said, "Hey, Fred, does this make sense?"
Especially given that this was in the wake of the food fraud. You would think that
You'd be on double secret alert.
You would think once that surfaced, everyone would be on high alert, saying, we better start checking everything here.
And all the new autism centers, are they all Somali?
Yes. The ones being investigated certainly are. I'm aware of empty storefronts that are being examined.
And I remember at the time, and I think the event, it was a kid in Hopkins, right? And didn't he end up in Minnehaha Creek?
That's what started the conversation.
That's what started all of this?
Yes, the child
And I
wandered
remember
away.
reading at the time that there's some sort of parental shame surrounding autism in your children if you're a Somali, and that's why they said they need their own autism centers. The ones we had weren't good enough or fitting the bill for them. You guys remember that?
Yes, exactly. Remember it. And,
yeah.
And you, as you're hearing on a podcast on July 11th, we handed this we did, the reformer did, many people did, but we handed this on a silver platter to the Walz administration.
Here's how they got found out. When this all started a few years ago, I guarantee you that there's a local FBI team that their job, all they do, now I don't know this, I'm speculating, all they do is keep one eye trained on everything Minnesota does. I guarantee you. That's how they found this out. Maybe they listen to you, maybe not.
Having a governor like Walz means you have a governor apparently so uninterested in the nuts and bolts of governing and minding our purse that even when extraordinary frauds are discovered, it's just business as usual.
See, is this Hanlon's razor? Is this Walz being stupid? Or is this Walz being nefarious? It seems to me that he has somehow opened the door for all this fraud.
Well, no one's accusing Walz of stealing money.
I should rephrase that. Minnesota has opened the doors for stealing and fraud.
But the lack of curiosity is astonishing. First with food, then with autism. Where are the people supposedly working on behalf of the state of Minnesota?
Well, let me read this quote from you. I told you about this little piece buried in the paper, and it's Walz's response, and he wants tougher Medicaid fraud penalties. Quoting the governor, "This pisses me off unlike anything else. They're stealing from us. You've got to increase the penalty on these crimes. These are crimes against children, in my opinion." So I'm asking him, how is increasing the penalties going to stop anything?
It's not.
No, not at all, Joe.
I suppose this is the point in the story where we're supposed to say, well, not all Somalis are thieves.
Right.
Okay, you're right. Not all of them are.
He also said, we're catching these people. They're going to prison. I don't think they're going long enough. Great, if you're going to give them bigger penalties, that's just fine. Why don't you close the door so the opportunity for fraud doesn't exist?
Well, in mid-July, there was an opportunity to close the door. And not only was that ignored, they didn't even know it was open.
Yeah. It was like the garage door opener.
Right. Forgot to
Throw
close
those
the
doors
door
open.
last night.
Yeah.
It's truly, we are so poorly served. We're way beyond stages of hyperbole. This governor is proving to be a failure in virtually everything he touches, including the people he hires. And yet today, you've got a publisher. Now, I'm not suggesting the publisher of the Tribune, Steve Grove, goes into the newsroom and says, I want my daily puff piece about Walz. I do not think that happens at all.
Oh, I do.
I don't. That's not how it works.
Yeah.
But the tone has been set that these stories appear. And again, today, it was just a technical embarrassment. You were inevitably going to run the story about Walz hoping to continue to have some national presence, but you put it in the wrong space. You look like morons. Put it in an inside page or wait till Sunday when more people could even read it.
Next week.
Yeah. These are, and don't make any mistake, these are Walz's people. This is his administration.
Under his watch.
This is his deal. And he's failing miserably.
Well, because he's got his eye on the national stage.
My God, this country rejected you, Walz, and I hope to God they would again. You're not fit for anything.
He doesn't get that, though. He's ready for the next challenge. He wants to remain a force. I love this quote under the photo of him sitting there, wringing his hands.
Yeah.
For whatever reason, people were going to vote for Trump. Well, it's because you were the wrong candidate.
Right. Walz, your next challenge should be to end the fraud. You have no national challenge. You could go a long way towards redemption in starting to accept responsibility and cleaning house. We're stuck with you for 2 more years. How much more money are you going to allow to be blown?
Has a losing politician ever said, I was the wrong candidate?
God,
they didn't.
no.
They didn't vote for me because I was the wrong candidate.
No.
Nobody's ever said that in the history of politics.
Any losing candidate, Kenny, has just said, I really shouldn't have went on GL.
What? No. They always blame the voters who voted for the winning candidate.
Did you guys see old Timmy and Gwen decorate the Christmas tree?
I did see that. I think he had to shut up Gwen because she might have been into the sherry.
She having a few hot toddies.
No,
I'm going to turn the page.
Well, she said, whatever. Tim decided to say that. That's enough. That's enough.
Do they have little...
She started like Christy McDonough in This Is Happiness, set in Ireland in 1958. She suddenly burst into song.
Here we go.
Oh, Dad got it on there. Joy to the world.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
Hello. Do you suppose they have little Christmas ornaments of burning buildings and tires on fire?
God help me, they might. Honest to God.
Joy to the world. Okay, that's enough.
Thank you.
But she kind of had that Google-eyed look, like, why are you telling me to be quiet?
Well,
How
because
dare
you're
you.
3 sheets there, Gwen.
No, we don't
Get in
know
the
that.
closet.
That's true.
Cuckold.
You know what?
You
That's
don't
wrong
know
of me
that.
to say that.
You
I'm going to
don't
give
know
myself
that.
this.
We don't
You
know
don't know that
that.
at all. That's
Joy to the
it's very unkind. She just, not a good
You
singer.
know what? She was festive.
Commenter on YouTube brought something up. We forgot about the child care fraud.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we got to throw that in there too.
I haven't forgotten about it, Kenny. There's so many.
He's got the scorecard at home. He just left it at home.
You need to turn. You know what you need to do with your scorecard? It's turn the page.
You know what?
Run out of room.
You know what? On July 11th, when we laid this all out, we had yet to know what we know today about Walz. This was just prior to his selection as the VP candidate. Right. And now that you know what you know about Walz, it's even less surprising that the frauds continue.
Correct.
Yeah.
And this holiday season, don't forget.
Oh, Dad got it on there. Joy to the world.
All right.
All right.
And
More mix.
she was placing something atop the tree. Like a Bert and Ernie doll or something. I don't know what it was.
Yeah.
Mama Bear's empty.
More tomato juice, less vodka.